Welcome to Off Label with Altasciences. I'm Lisa Sanford, your host. With Off Label, we're peeling back the label on the drug development industry with candid conversations and an insider perspective. Today, we're looking ahead to predict where the industry is going, how drug development is evolving, what's changing in sponsor CRO partnerships, and what it all means for the future. I'm thrilled to be joined today by three of my colleagues who I work with every day at Altasciences: Mary-Ellen Reynaud, President; Steve Mason, Co-Chief Operating Officer; and Dr. Gaetano Morelli, Executive Vice President, Medical Affairs and Chief Medical Officer. Welcome, everybody. Let's get to it. Mary-Ellen, I'm going to start with you. So this is the hottest topic in life, pretty much, how AI is going to affect us currently and the future. But specifically, what are your thoughts on how it's going to play into drug development pipeline in the future?
Yeah, you could probably argue that it's going to play in all the areas of drug development. But if we're thinking about the areas that have the potential for the most transformation, I think near term, you're looking at study design, you're looking at recruitment, you're looking at predictive analytics and how you can leverage those. You're looking even at things like quality control.
Okay.
That being said, I think in terms of how we're already leveraging AI is really on how we make our workflows more efficient, with the objective, of course, of accelerating timelines, right? So that leads to increased productivity and increased capacity, right? Allows us to do more with less. And I think overall, from a strategic perspective, we're thinking of it in, under three different umbrellas. So you've got employee literacy, because we want to empower all our employees to be able to leverage AI within their own workday and improving their own efficiency. We're looking at it from an operational efficiency overall, obviously. How do we do things faster? How do we do things better? And then we're also looking at it from a predictive analytics perspective. We've got 30 years of positive and negative data, both in non-clinical and clinical streams. And our clients should be able to leverage that to make better decisions. So those are the exciting ways that we're going to be seeing it in the future. And I think overall as an industry, right, you're just trying to use it to make faster no-go decision, lead to fewer trials, and ultimately save a ton of time and money getting a molecule to market.
Well, our whole company focuses on providing data, right? We're always doing studies that gate future studies. So this is super exciting. What do you think about, from a discovery point of view, is this replacing any of the studies that we're going to be doing? Are we no longer going to need, human participants?
Open that can of worms?
Yes. Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
You come back to making decisions. It's not, there's a balance, and you've got to hit that balance. We are not at the point where the AI makes the decision.
Exactly.
The AI facilitates you getting the information to help you make that decision.
Yep.
But where do we see the benefits? It's more around the speed, the automation, doing the repetitive things over and over again. Mary-Ellen mentioned the quality control piece. That's like you can, and we use some of this in preclinical already. We're able to pull data sets, get sort of graphical representations of data sets straight away, key into, okay, that's an outlier, something's not quite right there.
Exactly.
Go back to the data, okay, it was 300, not 3,000, and make that correction almost in real time that might have found its way through into reporting later, and we'd have to go back and make that longer, that process longer. Human brain power is better used looking at the data that we've got and making the decisions, using better data sets to do so.
Right. And this is highly customized to us. There's probably not an out-of-the-box, ready-to-go system.
Very limited.
So
yeah. This isn't like a 5-minute exercise where we've suddenly decided, okay, by the end of the year we'll do that. This goes back 5 years we've been working on and rejected various platforms over the years that it's not going to get us where we need to go.
Yeah.
So the reporting tool right now is highly customized.
That's going to be really valuable.
Yeah, going to be valuable in the clinic, and then we're going to look at, okay, are the pieces of this that we can use in preclinical?
Okay.
Like preclinical data sets, they're different from clinical data sets. They're much more conserved.
Yeah.
Much more following a set sort of formula. So there probably is some work that you can do to automate some simple analyses that come out of that. We have some data sets that are pass or fail, for example. It doesn't need any human interaction to crunch those numbers. Okay, pass. We can do that a lot quicker.
No, that's exciting. So if I'm hearing correctly, it's not adding AI just for the sake of it being on trend. No. It's being very thoughtful about what we're looking at, how it's going to incorporate into our workflows currently, and then how is it going to benefit.
How does it enhance our abilities? How does it allow us to do more with less, and I think an analogy that I had heard of a few weeks ago that I thought was interesting is, and to Steve's point about decision making, we can think of AI as kind of air traffic control, right? AI is not flying the plane. Air traffic control is making sure the skies are clear, there's the most efficient routes possible, and all the risks are visible to the pilot. But ultimately, the pilot is making the decision.
Right. Great segue, because I feel like you're a pilot in your role, Dr. Morelli. I do.
I kind of break it down. I mean, we've already talked a little bit. You can break it down into three kind of buckets. It's going to optimize the way we design clinical trials. It'll minimize errors in clinical trials and data reporting just by gathering all the data. It'll facilitate us eventually to, and I think the transition, we're going to be seeing a transition of clinical trials going more and more into patient-centric type trial. So the ability to quickly hone in based on the database into patient populations that will fit the appropriate clinical, the clinical indication. And then, looking forward to Steve's development in terms of a simulation. We'll be talking about things like, chip on organ, organs on chips, and so proteomics, genomics, and things like that, where we'll actually be able to hopefully simulate a real clinical trial before we actually go into clinical trial. And that'll help facilitate things like making drugs safer, less adverse events from my perspective while we run clinical trials. Okay. So optimize, facilitate, and simulate. Okay. Those are the kind of buckets I break it down to.
Those are your power words.
Those are my power words.
Okay, I love it. So how do you balance then that information you're getting from AI with the decisions that, for instance, you need to make daily in the clinic? How's it going to affect your judgment?
Well, that's a great point. Some of the term that's used out there is sort of hybrid intelligence. Right. And so we'll use, because computers and AI are obviously driven by algorithms and data and stuff created by humans. We got to make sure that those algorithms don't have bias, because if you do, then it'll just generate more incorrect data, and it'll just perpetuate down the line. So it'll really be sort of a symbiotic type of thing. We can use AI to gather the data, organize everything, put it out, but then you still need that human touch, that human perspective, that human judgment, which really will not replace that.
It's only ever as good as the data that it's been trained on anyway as well.
You have to be really intentional about how you're using these tools and how you're rigorous validation is a non-negotiable, and that's why it takes time to make sure that we have the right tools.
Right, because I feel like all of your collective experience, you're an AI data set right here, sitting here live, if you're really thinking about it. Right?
You can see FDA is talking about it more and more and more, about less animal studies, more use of these alternative tools. And one of the issues that they're going to have within the roadmap is getting all of the drug companies and biotech companies to commit to it. We sort of have a data standard with SEND and things like that, but SEND is for regulatory studies for submission. There's reams and reams of data that's generated outside of SEND that really, in order for this to be effective, we're all going to have to commit to making that available, and then everybody having access to that to be able to draw conclusions from it. That's a hurdle, a big hurdle to get past.
How close are we to an artificial organ or an organ on a chip, and how is that becoming part of the regulatory requirements, do you think, for drug development?
That organ on a chip, organoids,
great
isolated
concept,
tissues.
Right?
Well, it's been around for a long time. I listened to an earnings call 3 months ago from one of the public CROs where the buzzwords are, they call them NAMs, so it's new approach methodologies, and one of the guys on the call was it's old approach methodologies, because some of this is not new tech.
Right.
Been around
but maybe a little more adoption friendly now or something.
We're at the point now where regulators, specifically FDA, has opened the door and said, okay, we are open to listen to let's work on specifically for monoclonal antibodies going first. It usually has some sort of predictable toxicity profile. Yep. There's work that we can do to do less animal study or fewer animal studies and more in vitro NAMs type safety assessment, looking for the characteristic signals that we would see, and FDA is working on pilot programs. Hopefully by the end of this year, or certainly within the next 12 months or so, to come up with a strategy, at least for monoclonal antibodies or certain monoclonal antibodies. Okay, this is how we could move it forward.
So when we do go in life, then we're a lot more pinpointed and targeted, basically, using this information. Like, it's not instead of in life. It's like, it's going to enhance.
I mean, there's different schools of thought about how far you can go with these, certainly with the current in vitro platforms that are out there. There are certain issues around reproducibility, how they've been validated, how relevant they really are, how wide of a pool the original tissue came from, and things like that. We see them as the future anyway, the immediate future, as they're going to add a ton of value to you putting your preclinical safety assessment program together. They're going to give you a very early signal into, okay, this is what I need to be looking for. Yeah. Hopefully, we do less box checking studies.
I see.
Fewer animals and better endpoints, because we do get into the clinic and we think, oh, I wish I had monitored that.
I mean, as a clinician, obviously, when we look at these technologies and we're kind of isolating, we're looking at the kidney and the liver and potentially other organs. Do you foresee human body on a chip? Because human physiology is so complex.
It's so complex.
Yeah.
And the parts are interrelated. It's not just a sum of parts, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That I think is the $1 million question. Do I foresee it? It's 30 years from now, maybe. 5 years from now, absolutely not. We'll have better single tissue systems. We'll have maybe some interaction. Maybe you'll have some feedback loop that is built in here, so that you can model out, okay, this happens in this system. What does it cause to the next system? We're just not there yet, and we don't have the tech to be able to do that. Too, as a clinician, are you comfortable with just in vitro data, or are you more comfortable knowing that, okay, a cohort of non-human primates have been exposed to this, and I know that.
Yeah, hence the question to you: will we ever have a human body? I mean, the body on the whole thing. I mean, obviously, it's so new to clinicians. We're all really learning about this. Is there going to be a transition time where we start understanding it a little better and feeling comfortable with it? Because right now, my mind is still very isolated. We're looking at just isolated tissues, and again, knowing the complexity of physiology and the interrelation between system organs is just so complex that I certainly in the very near future, I'd still feel uncomfortable to trying to say, oh yeah, we're okay because we've studied it in a little chip.
Yeah, and some of it too is like we're using the chips for efficacy signals. Right. Well, that's great, but really, certainly in the early phase, we're concerned about safety rather than efficacy.
That's
efficacy,
our primary purpose comes
later on.
So, exactly.
We're doing the preclinical studies to establish a margin of safety before we administer this to a human for the first time.
And absolutely, I mean, once we get there, once we've validated the systems, then obviously it'll be a great tool for clinicians. We'll have less adverse events, we'll have more targeted therapies, so really enhance our ability in clinical trials and in patient care down the line. So the push is there to continue to develop this technology, this NAM, and
absolutely
into drug development. It's not that it's a done deal, and so we'll expect growth in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. The next 2 or 3 years are probably going to be fairly transformational.
Looking forward to that.
So the advancements in personalized medicine have just been incredible. And it's always amazing to read that, a young child is potentially cured through gene therapy or some kind of personalized medicine. So my question to you is, how feasible do you really think personalized medicine is at scale?
At scale is the key there. I think it has to be in the sense that we're there from a requirement perspective, from a need perspective, from a scientific perspective. I think we're there. But from an infrastructure and systems perspective, this is where we're not there yet, and we're going to be challenged to get there because we've enjoyed the economies of scale for a long time. And personalized medicine is going to require a whole different approach from a clinical trial perspective, from a data integration perspective. It's going to take us a long time to get there. But to our earlier discussion on automation and AI, it's going to take efficiencies and it's going to take acceleration, right? And so if those tools can help there, well, then it brings us a little bit closer to be able to scale personalized medicine.
Okay.
I'm, for not the first time, I'm skeptical.
I'm seeing a theme here.
No, it's you mentioned it's the scale, it's the economies of scale. It comes back to you can, there was a well-publicized transaction in the last couple of months where Lilly acquired Verve, and Verve has a potential gene therapy, like one and done lowering cholesterol.
Okay.
Like, great. What's it going to cost? Yeah. Assuming it gets commercialized. Yeah. And how does that compete in most of the developed world with 10 cents a day generic Lipitor, Yes.
Which is controlling and doing its job.
So this is like extreme personalized medicine, that we're changing your genetic code so that you no longer have high cholesterol versus, a 10 cents a day generic.
When your quality of life is probably equal.
It's a bit of an extreme example, but.
Right. But it shows the extent to which you'd have to decrease the cost of drug development.
Yes.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, and then how are you going to convince people? I mean, that a gene therapy for, it's not a benign condition, but it's relative, like in the pantheon of all the things that we could cure with gene therapy is high cholesterol a priority, versus all these rare diseases and things like that.
Exactly.
And the distinction here is when we talk about personalized medicine, we forget what we call precision medicine.
Yes.
Which is what we've been talking about, the genomics and stuff that create this precision type of medicine, and we're able to hopefully understand that and help AI to better develop that. But then we have to bring it into personalized.
Okay.
And that's where the gap is. And so how do we fill that gap? How do we scale that gap from precision medicine that we can work out with tools to actually apply to the patient, which is the precision, the personalized medicine that we'll be looking at.
Right.
And that's where we talk about scaling of economies, the cost, the interest, and the whole regulatory infrastructure around that is huge as well.
Right.
We went from small molecules for 50 years to biologics in the last 25 plus years, and now we're scaling up to a different type of technology.
Exactly.
So that's where we are right now, and so we're talking about this, and we're trying to. Confucius once said, if you want to divine the future, you have to study the past.
That's right.
And that's so true. So let's study what we did good in the past or where we failed in the past to try to fix what we can do in the future and better understand how we're going to move forward right now. We have the technologies. We have AI now. We have these platforms we're developing. How do we scale them? How do we, make precision medicine, personalized medicine? How does that move on? How do we fit in as a CRO into all of these changes? How do we adapt? Obviously, by recognizing that these are, where the future is going with these, and how do we become proactive more so than reactive?
Sure.
And partnering with
partnering up,
pharma, partnering with technology companies. Again, fewer silos means acceleration, right? It means faster timelines. Yeah.
And I mean, and you've seen also big pharma transitioning away. I mean, divesting from growth internally, outsourcing a lot of their stuff to CROs and stuff. And
that's how it's changing.
You're right there. You see it every day. That's where it's changing. And this is where a company like Altasciences, where we think differently, can really invest right now for the future.
Right. Okay. So how's the role of CROs likely to evolve in the broader drug development partnership model?
It's already evolving, and much to what Dr. Morelli was just referencing, historically, I think CROs, CDMOs were thought of as kind of the backstage crew, and more within industry and from our pharma and biotech partners, we're being asked to take more of a creative director role. And what I mean by that is getting involved much earlier, asking the right questions, helping to co-design the drug development strategy for our clients. So we're not being, responding to, can you do this trial? We're even asking, should we do this trial?
Right.
And helping our sponsors make those decisions. So I think as we evolve, as the industry evolves, we are becoming the innovators from a drug development perspective, in the sense that we're being challenged to find faster ways, cheaper ways of moving things forward, and we're forced to innovate that way. And then through all the breadth of experience that we see across therapies, across modalities, we're able to help our biotech and pharma clients find the most efficient path.
I think also following the molecule, right? We're able to start so early with our clients that we're able to, I feel like 10 years ago, maybe there were more CROs involved in a development program. You would get a study, someone else would get a study. It wouldn't necessarily be the same compound. It might cross a portfolio. Now I feel like there is some more purposeful or intent that they're looking at the molecule and placing that molecule at a particular CRO to have them take it through. So do you think we're going to be expected to go even into later phases than we already are? I mean, we play in a very defined space, right? We're going from our lead candidates and we're getting you to proof of concept and congratulating you and sending on your way. But do you think there's going to be a need to stay in there more?
I think part of what we're doing and what we're focused on is really that early phase, specifically since it's so critical. And one of the ways that Altasciences has been an innovator here in the industry is integrating both the non-clinical and translating that into the clinical faster. And I think because we're specialized in that and we're focused on that, that's really where we're able to deliver something unique to our clients and partner them and accelerate their strategy from molecule to commercialization much faster. So even though we're focused on that earlier stage, because we're able to help them make those critical go, no-go decisions earlier and faster, we're actually help them speed up throughout the later phases.
I mean,
I'll give you a case scenario.
I was going to say, I know you see this
really
every day.
Sits so nicely, and from early phase right into. So, a couple of months ago, one of the preclinical scientists had called and said, "Listen, we're working on this molecule, and the client really wants to see what the clinical applications are. Is there a need for it?" Sat down, had a couple of meetings, realized absolutely this is.
So commercial strategy,
very commercial
basically.
strategy.
Right.
And right off
Because
the
at the end of the day, that's
That's
what's
it.
important, right?
We've already identified a handful of sites that will support the study once it comes to clinical. So we've already shaved off a ton amount of time. We've already started talking about developing the protocol with the client while they're still in preclinical. And which we would not have been able to do if the preclinical was being done somewhere else.
Right.
And then, they come to us and, so we're just, to your point, we're just following the molecule.
Exactly.
And this is the classical example.
Exactly.
It'll just shave a ton amount of time for the client and money.
And I also see, and I think you see this daily, is just the way the protocols are adapting and they're collecting a lot more information right from the get-go in the phase one that typically would be in a later phase trial once patients were taking it. But I know what your team is doing over there. I mean,
it tickles my fantasy.
You guys
my vision of the way we're going to run clinical trials is Steve is going to do the preclinical stuff. We identified a molecule. We're going to probably become more and more patient-centric, and it's going to be an incredibly adaptive trial where, as we see things, we'll adapt the trial. You see efficacy, we'll adapt for it. If we see adverse effects, it'll continuously adapt. And then finally to the later stage, the safety and the pharmacovigilance part. Shaving, I mean, years and years and tons of money. So the way we are developing now, phase one, phase two, phase three, that three-phase thing is going to shift completely. And AI, obviously, coming back to AI with the databases and stuff is going to help drive that.
And I know, your team is collecting, so much information.
We are. And I'll tell you something we're doing, which is I'll reveal it. So
secret now. Secret.
It's a secret. So I seeing, forward thinking, knowing that we're going towards genomics and gene therapies and stuff, we'd identified several key disease states which we think in the next 25, 30 years are going to play such an important role in drug development. And we looked at which companies are involved in what, and so we've identified 4 particular types of it. And so we screen anywhere between 16 to 18,000 participants amongst our 3 sites. And what a way to be able to gain genetic information. So small separate ICF say, hey, can we collect gene? We're looking at this, and this. We've identified the genes we want to target, collect that database. When the day comes when someone comes to us and says, hey, we have an indication for dementia or Alzheimer's, we have that genetic database already, and we can right off the bat execute on it.
Excellent.
A perfect demonstration of how we're able to accelerate things because we have the advantage of that breadth of experience, and the volume of what we see can really benefit.
And it really helps us as well as the sponsor companies to have hold of the molecule from early on and let us stand next to you and help you decide what the best next steps might be.
And that's the biggest shift, I think, in terms of the evolution of where CROs play in the industry. Yeah. We're starting to co-lead a lot more versus just, provide advice and take it or leave it. We're now actually co-designing.
So a lot less transactional.
Exactly.
Where come in, do this, there's your data. Walk away and no more involved.
And then I guess the more data you're collecting and the more information you know, the more pinpointed you can be in your later phase trials too.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have
That's right.
thousands of people just to see. Yeah. Okay, great. A lot of changes in the industry with companies, a lot of acquisitions, a lot of, consolidation. So what are the larger, a lot of volatility. So what are some of the larger implications of that talent pool that are leaving the pharma sector to move to CROs?
Yes, it's probably the most underreported story in the industry, but I've been seeing it firsthand, especially in the past few years. You're seeing top scientists, heads of R&D, even former regulators are now coming to us, which is fantastic. It's great for us. It makes us sharper. It makes us smarter. It makes us more competitive. I think what they're looking for, what they're getting, is the ability to innovate, but also to see a huge variety of different therapies, different pathways, and so gain experience even outside their own niche expertise to be able to develop their careers. They also get the flexibility of being able to work outside of their, initial functions and grow that way. So huge amount of career development, and also, I think, of course, the ability to make an impact. As CROs, you've got to be really on that tip of the spear from an innovation perspective. And I think that's really what's attracting a lot of talent our way. And what's great is we are not recruiting them. They are actually coming to us and seeing what we're doing and seeing how we're innovating and wanting to be a part of that, which is fantastic. So I think the bigger implication for the rest of the industry is, the intelligence, the brain power and the leadership from a drug development strategy perspective is shifting.
Yeah. So if you marry that with the thought that molecules are now coming to us purposeful, to follow them through,
you need somebody with that type of experience.
Right.
To help you navigate through those challenges, because historically, 20 years ago, CROs would work in a certain part of the drug development timeline. Now we're going earlier, we're going later,
and much more in partnership. Much more in partnership.
So you need somebody that's experienced that firsthand and has taken a drug through IND all the way to NDA, preclinical and clinical, manufacturing as well. Be able to point out, okay, don't forget this, remember this, do this.
Exactly. So this question's for my entire panel. I'll start with MH. Ladies first. What's your boldest prediction for the future of CROs in the next 30 years?
30 years, wow.
Get the crystal ball.
Crystal ball, we're going to go from validated target through IND enabling talks right into first in human studies in less than 6 months.
Oh, okay.
We're going to leverage the integrated platforms that exist at Altasciences. We're going to leverage AI. We're going to leverage adaptive clinical trials, adaptive manufacturing, cloud-based regulatory pathways. I think all of those things are in view. And quite frankly, seeing where Altasciences is going in the next 5 years, I think we're going to see that a lot sooner than 30 years.
Great. That's great. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think somehow we'll be into an adaptive preclinical program too, and maybe we won't be into
Or
species
emulating
anymore.
of the clinic, what we do today. Yeah.
Exactly. We'll be able to key in on areas of risk.
Yep.
Rather than a sort of sledgehammer checkbox approach.
Right.
Much more sophisticated, better studies, shorter duration maybe, and data available much faster. And I suspect it won't be 6 months. It'll be more like 3 months.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. We're being bold.
Yeah. Well, and we're not writing a report at the end
That's
of it.
right.
We've got a data set. And when in the end, it's the data. You're looking at the data. You can. I've thought this for a while. Like all of the effort we put into writing this incredibly long report at the end. In fact, what does the regulator want? It wants a CDISC and a send data set, and to be able to model that out themselves. Yeah. So. That's what we're going to be providing, and the decision will be made on the data, not the 200-page report.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's
What do you think, Dr. Morelli?
It's going to change tremendously. I mean, we're going to really be dealing with so much data that I think when you're working for a CRO, if you're not a janitor, you're probably a data scientist. So, the way we define roles now, clinicians will be safe. We'll always
Yeah.
We need to, of course.
All right.
Fine.
Yeah.
But obviously, the way we do trials will change. I mean, I think it's going to be, we touched on it already, it'll be more patient-centric, there'll be more globalization, and COVID has taught us that, how we can develop things quicker, faster, better by being more interdependent and interrelated across nations and stuff. It'll pose, obviously, some challenges in terms of logistics, regulatory, financing, and all that. But definitely the way we do it now is going to change.
Yeah. And you know what else? On a personal level, I would love to see CROs as a term become obsolete. Maybe we can call them accelerated development platforms, which is a better reflection of who we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
A new name.
Accelerated. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed speaking to all of you today. And a big thank you to our listeners for joining in as we discuss some fresh perspectives on the changing paradigm of drug development. Stay tuned for more episodes of Off Label. Until next time.